welcome back to episode 34 here of the Bullpen, 4th of July week. So that's kind of exciting here at the end of the week. I know we've got a tournament up in the Dells, Wisconsin Dells area this weekend, Hammett. But this last weekend, we had some tournaments and events this past week. So how you guys doing? Everything go well for you guys yesterday and last weekend?
It's good.
Yeah.
I'm good. I'm excited for 4th of July weekend. I got this weird itch yesterday. We were at the West Suburban Summer ID, and I just started thinking, I'm like, man, we're 2 weeks away from future games, which I always look forward to. Yeah, the first couple of days are kind of a grind for us, but that week is always so fun for us. I feel like it's like a true culmination of everything we see in the spring, everything we see in the summer. To see all that come to fruition, it's always really cool. But just a side note, I'm really looking forward to future games here in a couple weeks.
Yeah, that's kind of like a lot of the scouting we do all year, right? Is for future games. So this is definitely our favorite time of year, and I'm with you, Def. I was kind of feeling like, dang, we're kind of getting close to the end of the summer here, which is weird to say. I feel like we just started.
Yeah, I know. I feel like it was during the high school season, we're before we know it, it's going to be the state tournament, and what do you know, it's already the 4th of July almost, and it's just crazy. I feel like once you hit the 4th, everybody kind of says the summer just flies by like that, and I mean June it seemed like a blink of an eye, and it was over. So
well,
yeah,
it's kind of
crazy.
It definitely doesn't help that the state tournament was a week later, right?
True.
Made it kind of blend together a little more, I feel like.
You said it too. Everything that we do throughout the year kind of, is geared towards the future games. And that's how I feel about everything that comes at the end of July, early August, because you got the state games, senior future games, junior future games. We just announced hey, this is going to be the second year of the super sophomore games that, the Illinois team that we'll bring will go to Columbus, Ohio to Jennings Sports Park over there. But there's a lot that kind of all funnels into this time period, and there's a lot that we still have to do. I think one thing we take a ton of pride in with this future games is to bring the best 2027 team that we can. And by doing so, I think we all want to see as many 2027s as we can to make sure, that we are taking the best players. It'd be easy to just select guys off the underclass invitational in the winter, because there's all kind of talent, there's all kind of numbers getting thrown around, but we want to see them playing a game. We also want guys that are going to represent Team Illinois the right way. Guys that we want to sell to college coaches, guys that we want to put out there that are going to, represent Illinois the right way. So still a couple roster spots to fill. Gavin mentioned a tournament or two coming up this weekend. One thing that's going on is the Big Row tournament up at the Rock that we'll have guys floating around. A lot of good teams are going to be there, a lot of good players, and still some guys to cross-check. So, if you are at 2027 out there, we are not full. We are still finalizing the roster, and we will be doing so probably up until a week or two before the event, which is a week from now. So time is cutting short here.
Yeah, and it is the biggest for us, I feel grind of the summer, that part, that stretch, but it's fun because it's so many good baseball players, a lot of good stuff we're seeing, and then also it's the one time a year that we're consistently as a group together, I feel where we get to hang out as well. So that's always fun too, to get to see everybody. So I enjoy it. It's a fun couple weeks that we're about to have. And then one thing that I saw come across my Twitter this past week was Tyler Bell got first team freshman All-American this year, which is really impressive. He had a good year for the Wildcats over there, but Lincoln Way East grad, so just wanted to shout that out.
That's awesome to hear. It's hard enough to just play or get any kind of at-bats as a freshman, and he was basically starting from day one at shortstop. Obviously one of the top freshmen in the country receiving that award, so congrats, Tyler. Just a lot of really good stuff coming out of Lincoln Way East right now. You got Ryan Ritter making the big leagues for the Colorado Rockies, which, hey, that was a guy that just continued to get better every time we saw him. His tools continued to tick up through high school, and he really kind of hit his stride in college. Turned himself into that next level prospect when he was in college. And then You got Jack Bauer out of Lincoln Way East right now throwing 103. You got guys like Cooper Johnson, at 2027 that's had a really, really good spring, carrying it over to the summer. I've seen a ton of stuff on him, like with the bat this summer as well. So shout out Lincoln Way East there. Tyler Bell, congrats on first team freshman All-American, and keep it going.
Yeah, so just some MLB, I guess, news as we're kind of coming in here to the All-Star break here in the next couple of weeks. But I just wanted to kind of mention some of the NL Central stuff. And Tyler, if there's anything you want to add or any color details, whatever, feel free. But just kind of wanted to give like an update on the standings. Currently, the Cubs are in first with 50 wins. The Brewers and Cardinals are both close behind, but the Brewers are in second and the Cardinals are in third. The Reds are in fourth and the Pirates are in last. So pretty cool. Cubs are in first. Tyler, your Reds are down there in fourth, but they're not too far behind. I know you said aren't they kind of having a good stretch here?
They are. They're starting to play better baseball, which it's hard for me to get like too excited because they've done this to me before, but I am cautiously optimistic. But no, the Cubs are having a heck of a year. Like, looking at it, like Carson Kelly,
Yeah.
Pete Crow Armstrong, and then Kyle Tucker are all in the running to be All-Star Game starters, which I think is really cool for you guys, not cool for me, but it just kind of speaks to the year they're having. That lineup's ridiculous. I know we talked last week. I think that is when they got Shoto back. So, yeah, the more arms they get, I think it's only going to propel them. We'll see what they do at the trade deadline. I know Drew's kind of talked to us in the past about, wanting them to add more bullpen help. So we'll see. They definitely have the resources to be buyers. Here come the trade deadline, so it'll be interesting to see what they do. You got a window here where you can win. Drew's talked about it before with the Kyle Tucker thing. That trade only makes sense if you're kind of going to go for it this year or you're going to extend him for the long term. So we'll see what the Cubs do.
Something that's cool with Carson Kelly too. He was originally with the Cardinals, and I remember when he was playing in Peoria with the Chiefs, their single A team, and going and watching them, and I remember I didn't know at the time that I don't know if he was a massive big time prospect or not, but just now seeing him do what he's doing with the Cardinals is really cool to see.
I believe he was, Gavin. I want to say he was like the centerpiece return when the Diamondbacks traded Paul Goldschmidt to the Cardinals.
Okay, gotcha.
I want to say he was like the big piece of that deal. I could be wrong there, but I'm like 99% sure he was a key return in that trade. So no, that's awesome. A good nugget there.
Yeah. But Drew, did you want to get in here on Jacob Mizraowski at all, or? I saw you had some notes you were making.
I could easily get in on the Cubs, but no, they've been playing good baseball. It is hard to see Cam Smith doing what he's doing for the Astros because I love the look of that guy. I could easily see why that guy's drafted in the first round. He just really, really looks the part. I could definitely get in on Jacob Mizraowski. I know he was a JUCO guy. One stat that I heard last night, and I threw it on here, was like he's faced 55 hitters so far in the big leagues, and he's given up 3 hits. That to me, if that stat is actually true, that is unbelievable for a rookie to come up and just flat dominate like that in the big leagues. Speaks to how dynamic his stuff is. So we'll see if he can keep it going. I actually haven't watched any of his starts or anything like that, but I was very familiar with him coming up. And man, the Brewers, I think one thing we talked about before this talk was just how they're not missing on arms. And, one other guy was the Quinn Priester. They traded for him probably maybe a month and a half ago. And he was really kind of struggling to find his way in the Pirates organization. The Brewers get their hands on him and, man, turn him around real quick. But, Tyler, what are you going to say there? Or Gav?
Well, I was just going to say he couldn't really find his way with the Pirates, and the Red Sox traded for him, and then couldn't really make his, mark with the Red Sox either. So it's just kind of crazy. Third team's a charm, and the Brewers,
did the Red Sox trade for him last year? Or was it early this year? So they had basically
I believe it was last year.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's
Let
what
me
I
double
think is
check
so
that.
impressive with the Brewers is like they've had their hands on him for no time at all, and it seems like he's going to be a staple in that rotation now moving forward. And sorry if I was cutting you off there, Tyler.
I think I mean we're not even talking about Paul Skeens and the numbers that he has. I know his stats are kind of funny. It's like the Jeff Samardzija stuff from like 2010 or 2011 when he had like 2 wins and a ton of losses, but his ERA is super low. I don't have the stats in front of me, but I think it's just really cool personally seeing two guys like in the NL Central like that. Your young kind of pitching stars kind of coming up right now, and obviously Skeen's doing what he did last year and just kind of doing it again. So with the Pirates, and then Mizorowski now so far this year, it's just awesome to see. You're kind of getting those young budding stars in our area, kind of come to the Chicago area or St. Louis. So it's cool.
Well, you mentioned young stars, Gavin. I don't know if you guys were paying any attention to this, and we didn't prep for this for the call, but they just released the futures games rosters for the MLB. Um, I thought there was some like intriguing names on there. I didn't dissect the whole thing, but like Max Clark, being an Indiana kid, like we were, obviously very familiar with him coming out of high school. But Noah Schultz for the White Sox, Oswego East, like I know he's one of their, prized possessions coming through their organization. That'll be really fun to watch. But there were a couple other names on here that jumped out. George Klassen from Wisconsin. I feel like I might have mentioned him a couple times, but pitched at Minnesota. Always had a really, really strong arm, and he's just excelled through the minor league system from what it seems like a ton of swing and miss stuff. And then obviously, that event and that game always has like a ton of, the famous young names. But Braden Montgomery, that was another one that stood out to me. Like he was a super 60 guy out of high school, went to Stanford, and then transferred to Texas A&M, and then the White Sox got him in the draft. I want to say it was out of Texas A&M.
The Red Sox drafted him, but he was part of the Garrett Crochet trade, so that's how the White Sox got him.
Thank you, Tyler. I'm sure I knew I was wrong with one of those things. Connor Griffin, another one that like I'm just kind of eyeing that I think's kind of the next face of baseball. Looking what he's doing at such a young age, the physicality with the run tool. Andrew Painter is an arm that I've been like hearing a ton about, like waiting for him to get the call up so I can snag him in fantasy. But yeah, those are just a couple that I was eyeing.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's always cool seeing those guys now in that game because I feel like the past couple of years, Noah Schultz played there last year, didn't he? And didn't he like win the MVP or something like that in the game? Or I might be making that up, but I could have sworn I remember seeing him do well in the game or something like that. But
I don't remember that, but like
check that out.
I would think he'd be a candidate. I was just reading something on him that like they're shoving him up into AAA already, giving him a new challenge and see how it goes. And for him, like everything I'm reading is like, man, if he's just in the strike zone like consistently, he's gonna have success because he's getting a ton of swing and miss.
One last thing, just on this topic of like prospects in the MLB Pipeline, I want to say just yesterday or maybe 2 days ago dropped their updated top 100 prospects in all of baseball, and Ryan Sloan is actually up to number 83 now with the Mariners.
Nice.
I know we talked on it maybe a month or two ago, probably about a month ago, and he was like dealing down in A-ball, so seems like he's certainly made a big enough impression on like pro guys that do that for a living. So he's now up to number 83. I think that's cool. Like kid's only 19 years old, so it's pretty ridiculous stuff.
Any video that I see like come out of the minor leagues on him, like he just looks like a big leaguer. Like he looks like he could be a third starter right now. Just the way he moves down the mound, the pitch action, the arsenal he's got, like he could be a quick riser.
All right, so do you guys want to talk about some of these big data numbers from the summer events so far? I know I was kind of looking through some of them, and there's some big, interesting stuff. If you guys want to get into that.
One that I kind of heard rumblings about from you guys, and even his high school coach hit me up, Connor Crumry from OPRF, Oak Park River Forest. He was up to 105 miles an hour for the max EV, and he hit his furthest ball at 418 feet. So I wasn't there for that one, but just like that really stood out to me. So Tyler, I think, was that you? You were watching that one?
Yeah, I mean, the guy was just absolutely juicing baseballs. It was out at Triton, and I want to say he put one up on. There's like kind of like a shell. It looks like it's probably a building that holds restrooms out in like left field, in between the football field and the baseball field. And he put one on the roof over there, and it was like, whoa, like, and it was just easy juice to both gaps too. He probably put out 4 or 5 baseballs during his round of BP, and mind you, these guys get like 10 to 12 swings, so nice little ratio there. But yeah, he's got some stupid juice.
And then I believe this was from the Chicagoland Summer ID. Sid Strasberg is from Winchendon School in Massachusetts. I guess he was out in Chicago for an event, is what it looks like. And his vertical was 36.2 inches at that event on our Vald jump mat, which is crazy. We don't have a ton of 36-inch verticals coming to our events, but that was impressive.
Yeah, I mean,
like
to your point, like if you see a vertical over 29, even over like 28, that to me, from all the Vald verts that we've collected, seems to be pretty elite, or towards the top of what we're seeing. And this guy blew that out of the water. So just like the difference between him and like the next best guys was very, very apparent. And speaks to athleticism as well. Like that's why we do it. Typically the guys that are jumping the highest have the top 10-yard splits, the top 60s, and we're trying to get as many metrics to judge the athlete as we can. So anytime we see something like that, it's like, all right, we got to key in a little extra hard on this guy.
Yep. And then Tyler, down when we were in Peoria, Stephen Petrie, a Metamora 2026 uncommitted kid, during his catcher defense had like 1.8, 1.9, low 2 pop times, and the glove to hand transfer was really impressive. Like it looked like it was supposed to look. So I was really impressed with that. That was one of the better like catching defenses I've seen in a while at our events. And then down in St. Louis, Dominic Pandolfo, Fort Zumwalt East, had an 80-mile-an-hour catcher velo and a 21.4-mile-an-hour average rotational acceleration. And at that same event, Haverly Cox is an uncommitted homeschooled kid. He's a 2026. And fastball is up to 94 at the event, and he averaged 31.48 spin rate on his curveball. And talking to Kevin Mulder, the Missouri State director, after the event, he was just saying how he was a guy that they've heard a lot about, and they've been trying to get to an event to get on TrackMan and get his metrics, and finally was able to get him down there at St. Louis, and really big numbers. I mean, those are probably going to be some of the best numbers that we'll see at our summer events this year, I would assume. But and then one more guy, Chase Blue, Sullivan, Missouri, had an average bat speed of 75.2 miles an hour. So some good metrics here from the Peoria event and St. Louis event.
Yeah, one that really stands out to me, I actually like just threw him in the sheet. Adam Kozak from Lockport a couple weeks ago. He ran a 6.57 and then proceeded to get up to 99 miles an hour from the left side for the EV. And it was like super, super easy. He was just, he was hitting balls to the gaps, and all of a sudden just flicks one oppo, home run. I was like, and we all kind of looked at each other. We're like, whoa, did he just do that? So it was like guy-ish. Like that kid has, I mean, we were fans of him in the spring. Was that last year, Tyler, you saw him for the first time?
Yeah.
I think
Kickoff Classic came out of nowhere. Well, we had nothing on the kid. Find out he's like a 3-sport guy, I want to say, for Lockport, or at least football. But yeah, it's kind of crazy just the progression he's been on since spring of 2024.
Yeah, I mean, all sorts of twitch, all sorts of athleticism. Really big fan of that kid. He's gonna be one that I would hope and think coaches are on this summer.
And I think he's an interesting story for me because, we go and we watch these players, and these guys will emerge at games that we didn't know about, have never been to an event. Like, he was one of them. Jumped off the page at us, was leading off, giving us good run times. And, like, sometimes guys don't give great run times, especially if we see them once or twice in the spring. Maybe it's a routine out and they slip out of the box. Like, not always are you going to get a great run time to understand the tool of their run speed. Or, what kind of pop they have in the bat. And to me, we really liked Adam Kozak, but it was kind of hard to tell, like, okay, how high level are his tools? And by coming to an event by us actually measuring everything that he did. To me, it just, now we're able to get a much fuller picture on him. We know he can play in game. We know we like the way he plays. And then guess what? Now he's checking off a ton of these tools and these boxes where it's like Adam Kozak needs to be followed. Like, he is an elite runner in the class. He's got a well above average bat strength, especially like for his size. Like, he's only going to get bigger and stronger. So by him coming to that event, like, it really now just helped us realize, like, okay, Adam Kozak is a guy who has the tools to play at a high level. Like, he's not just a good scrappy player that's, you know, above average runner. Like, this is a guy I think any level should be on. So, you know, credit to Kozak for getting out to an event early on this summer, and then for obviously showing out and putting up the numbers that he did and putting the performance together that he did. So he's a guy too that like profiles anywhere in the outfield. Like true left center fielder, 6'5", 7" runner, and he's got a little thump in the bat. So I love that call out, Pete. I was gonna get in on, you know, yesterday's event. The West Suburban Summer ID that we ran at Lee Fund Field, Wheaton College over there in Carroll Stream. I was just in general like kind of blown away at the overall depth of talent at that event. I haven't seen that many good hitters at an open summer ID in a long time. And like, to me, just going through the numbers, like it kind of speaks for itself, but there were 6 guys who averaged over 90 miles an hour during their BP. So their average exit velo was 90 plus, not their max. You know, we had one guy over 100, Miguel Ibarra Cantu, Glenbard North, left. Also pitched as well, but really impressed us with the left-handed bat. 101.3 peak exit velo, 95.9 average, which that led the event by over 3 miles an hour, if I'm looking at it correctly. And then he also juiced a ball 393. Like, we don't see numbers like that getting close to 400 at any event, really. Maybe in our Illinois State games, we'll get a couple guys. Maybe at the future games, you'll get a few guys that'll touch a 400, but 393 is one of the furthest ones I've seen in a while. And he's a left-handed hitter. It's elevated, natural lift in the swing. It's not overly lifted. It's not straight uphill. And he was just living on the barrel with all kinds of jump. The other guy that I also thought was like very similar was E.T. Data at Lane Tech, another 2027 left-handed hitter that was just kind of hammering baseballs to the pull side. And if I'm breaking down his data, like 99.8 peak exit velo, 90.7 average, and he launched one 390. So just all kinds of like physical bats. And then Pete, I know you like this guy on the mound, but I'm just throwing out his name here, but Kaysen Ernst from Geneva. He's a 2028, and he stood out to me because there was like 3 guys that averaged like 88 miles an hour plus during BP. He was one of them, and he's a 2028. He launched one 312, 95.4 peak exit velo, and like the frame is right. It was super balanced and easy. Used the whole field. And he emerged for me, at that event as well. And I know there's probably a couple other names on here in other statistical categories that are worth a mention.
Well, staying on him, we were like playing 20 questions during his bullpen. I was like, all right, how tall are your parents? How big are your feet? Because like he was like 6'4", and he looked like he was wearing clown shoes. He's size 15. So the kid's only going to get bigger. And I mean, the velo was like 80, low 80s, like 80, 82 maybe, but like really good mover. That kid is going to make some big jumps here soon.
Well, and I think you're getting into something like that's what we look for, right? Like projection, so we can dream on guys, especially these young players that we see. Like they're building a resume, and hopefully every time we see them, they continue to get better. But like those size 15 feet, hand size, like grip strength. That's why we do grip strength at an event to see, like how strong are these guys? What are they going to become? And one guy that it just kind of made me think of is Easton Pickrell. He's a 2029 out of Galesburg. like I saw him at our Rising Stars in McCook, and the first thing I noticed was like, this guy's gonna be a monster. Like he's wearing size 15 shoe. He looks like he's 10 still. Like he is so far to go. I love that call out there on Kaysen, and we'll definitely be following him because there's all kinds of upside all over the field. Do you guys have anybody else from that event, West Suburban? Any other statistical categories that stood out?
I could actually throw one in here. Dylan Jones from Lockport, or I'm sorry, Lamont. He's a 2028. He was just up to 84, left-hander, but that's another one. It's gonna be really, really good. I thought it was like potential guy-ish. Like, just looks like one of those young lefties that is just gonna turn out to be really good. That's just no other way to say it besides that. I mean, not like Colin Lawler, kind of the same thing. He wasn't there, but like it's just like one of those lefties that you can just tell like that kid's gonna be one that you want to watch in 2-3 years for sure.
Lefties with arm talent immediately need to be high up on our list. They're so hard to find. Everybody wants them. Dylan Jones, Lamont, you will be followed moving forward.
All right. Do you guys want to kind of get into our next section here then? Or do you want to?
I'm good. I'm
Yeah?
good. Yeah. Let's do it.
All right. So this section, we're going to kind of talk about some prospects throughout the summer that we have seen, whether it be from Twitter, or like at tournaments over in Kansas City or Indiana, or maybe Pete saw them at the Rock or at Rantoul, or showcases. Basically anywhere that we've seen guys showing out, doing well this summer. We're each going to kind of have a list of guys that we're going to talk through. I think we'll each kind of go maybe one by one. We'll each take a guy and kind of go in like a round table discussion, and kind of just go through a list and see how it goes. So I can kick things off with Jackson Aarons from the Peoria Summer ID. He is an uncommitted 2026 from East Peoria. Right-handed hitter, 97 mile an hour max EV, 351 max distance. I like the way that the video of how he moves around on the infield. I think he's an athlete. I know he's a basketball player. There was an all-conference basketball player in the Mid-Illini last winter. 6'7" runner, which is a big improvement from his last event, which was last summer at the same event. I think he went from a 7'2" runner to a 6'7" runner. So really good stuff from Jackson. I think he's getting stronger, really starting to kind of come into his own now. And a name that I liked this spring for the Raiders. Batted leadoff, played shortstop. So I think he's going to be one to kind of keep an eye on this summer and moving forward.
I'm going to go with Carver Cone for my first guy. Saw him a few weeks ago. Literally was at like the state tournament one day and then drove up to the Rock the next day. I mean, he's such a guy, man. That's exactly how it's supposed to look. I mean, roams around in center field like an absolute stud. I mean, tons of range, good reads off the bat. The arm's super strong, and switch hitter with all sorts of juice. Like we were playing, his team was playing at the Milkman Stadium at the Rock, which is a full-size like independent American Association field. And he one-hopped the wall to straightaway center from the left side, just easy, like a ton of bat speed. I mean, his at-bats too, like his takes are super confident, really knows the zone, and it's just a premium athlete. Like he's a well above average runner, and that's why he's our number one player in the state. What is he, number 15 nationally? I want to say number 15, I think. Regardless, he's way up there, and it really shows every time we see him play.
Yeah, I don't know what he is nationally ranked, Pete, but I agree. I think that's the thing I like about him most is like it's great to have all kinds of talent like he has, but he knows how to play the game and he plays it the right way. He gives you a good runtime every time down the line, at least when I've been watching. And that's what it's gonna take for him and for all these other high level guys to like stay at the top of the class. Like you got to keep working because there's all kinds of hungry players out there coming after you. I'm gonna get into one guy that. What do you got, Pete? What's up?
No, sorry, he's number 18. He's number 18.
There you go. Top 20 player in the country. Switch hitting center fielder there. But Keenan Donaldson is one guy that's been standing out for me for a while. Like he absolutely tore it up at our Rantoul tournament. Everybody down there was raving about him. I felt like they saw him just every time he got up, he was hitting extra base hits. And we were able to get our eyes on him yesterday at the West Suburban Summer ID, and I was just very impressed. Very strong, athletic catcher that kind of gets after it and at the plate. Like he does not get cheated. He's getting his ace swing off constantly in BP. Then I really liked him in the defensive workout. like directional coming out of the crouch. The arm plays with carry. And then I watched him catch a couple bullpens, and the guy was working, presenting pitches. And he's a 2026 out of New Trier. Um, just talking to him a little bit, he's very high academic. So any high academic schools out there that are looking for a well-rounded catcher with some tools, like Keenan Donaldson at New Trier, that's a name for me that's been sticking out this summer.
And then I kind of have mine broken down by like where we saw these guys. I'm gonna start out. My first few players are gonna be from Rantoul, so Hammett, feel free to hop in at any moment. But my first guy is Evan Riff, shortstop out of Lincoln Way East. He's a 2027. Really like the look that I got on him this spring. Thought he could play a true high level shortstop, but looked like he raked down in Rantoul with the bat, which is always good to see, just, completing that picture as a prospect. So he's 5'11", 182, but right-handed hitter, ton of athleticism. Again, I've long liked it on the dirt, so to see what he's starting to do with the bat, I think is really exciting.
Yeah, no, he showed really well this past weekend, and that Chicago Elite team was actually playing up in the 17U division as 16-year-olds, so that's always a fun little dynamic. But no, he was definitely one of my favorite players from the week.
So the next guy I'm going to get in here on is also, so I'm doing it similar to you, Tyler. I'm talking about some guys from Peoria, that event. So August Burr is an uncommitted 2026 from St. Bede. At that event, he had a 96-mile-an-hour exit velocity, 89-mile-an-hour average, 367-foot max distance, and he was a 6.96 runner. He was at the same event last year, and I have his numbers pulled up from last year. So last year he averaged 79 miles an hour off the bat, so a 10-mile-an-hour improvement. He ran a 7:09 at the event last summer, so an improvement there. But I just like the frame. I like the athlete, and just continually improving and doing well is always good to see. And I know he had a pretty big spring for St. Bede as well. So uncommitted 2026, August Burr.
With another top 10 player in that 2028 class, James Subkoyak from Downers Grove South. We saw him at the Rock. We started off the summer on a really high note at the Rock. Like, these underclass and just like the younger groups were really, really talented. So a lot of my guys are probably going to be from that. But James Subkoyak from DGS, up to 86 on the mound. It's a really loose and dynamic mover. Comes out really good, attacks his zone. He's a competitor, bulldog on the mound. And I really like the left-handed bat, too. I think that kid really has a chance to hit. It's all sorts of, whip and, looseness in that swing. Can play the infield. Now, where he's going to profile on the infield when he gets older, I'm not sure yet. It kind of just depends on how he progresses athletically, but also a really high-level quarterback from what I've seen. I just saw an article about him, and he's, one of the top quarterbacks in the area. So that's really cool. Nice. Two-sport guy.
I got a long list of guys here, but James Subkoyak, for all those that didn't graduate from DGS, Downers Grove South High School is where he resides. Same high school as Peter Hammett here. One guy I wanted to throw some love to, I mentioned Keenan Donaldson from the event yesterday, but Josh Zemer, corner infielder for Glenbard East, was a guy we were looking at very hard for All-State because he put up huge numbers this spring. And then I could see why. Comes to the event yesterday and is just hammering baseballs to all field. The ball jumps off the bat. Was hitting it just as hard to the right center gap as he was to the left center gap, which really stands out to me, and was getting really good flight. Some backspin, hands work on top of the baseball, and just all kinds of man strength already for him. And he's got presence in the box. There's a hitterish, angry look to him, but controlled at the same time. So I really like Josh Zemer. He's going to hammer some baseballs this summer. Obviously did this spring as well. But good showing for him. Glenbard East, corner infielder, right-handed bat. One arm I wanted to get in on, and I've got a couple on here, but Mason Rycheski. He's a guy that I saw the weekend of the state tournament. There's a tournament kind of floating around in that Joliet area, south suburbs. Ran out to see some 27s, and I get to see Mason Rycheski come out of the bullpen. right-handed pitcher, Kennedy High School. We didn't really have much on him at all. I saw it upper 80s and really interesting, but then later on, down at the 16U National Championship in Lake Point, they end up tweeting him out. He's 86.90. With a breaking ball that's spinning at 2,600 at 71, 72 miles an hour. Looks like he struck out 13 and 5 2/3 innings pitched. So it's one of those things where, I'm going to that game to watch these 27s. Never heard of Mason Rycheski. He comes out there, makes a name for himself. Obviously gets on my radar just from that one showing, but then goes and follows it up and does even better down at Lake Point. So just a guy that we're going to need to continue to dig on and go see. And, hopefully he's around this area up in Illinois, Wisconsin, and we can get, personal looks on him with our staff. But that's the beauty of when they go to Lake Point, when they go to Creekside, when they go to Grand Park, we've got guys floating around that we're going to get this information. We're going to see the guys that are tearing it up down there because they're hawking all those fields down there at Lake Point. They're all over these guys. Mason Rycheski, it's also a really interesting frame. So he's just one that I have high on my follow list right now, coming kind of, early on in this summer.
Next guy I want to touch on from that same Chicago Elite team, I'm assuming here, Hammett, Rocco Triolo, another catcher out of Lincoln Way East, again, 2027.
Had him on my list, Tyler. Good call out there.
Good deal.
Yeah, love it. You're crushing that Lincoln Way East.
Yeah. I know it. Hammond, I know he raked for you this spring when you saw him. He did not get the results when I saw him, but I loved the look in the box. He was DHing when I saw him in the spring, but I want to say he showed really well at Lockport or O'Hare this winter behind the plate on defense. So really like the swing. Think he's got a ton of sneaky juice. He's not the biggest kid, but he's got a ton of juice in that right-handed bat. So saw another guy that looked like he raked down and ran tool for you guys.
I love that. Triolo, you kind of said it. It looks like he's getting more impactful contact because he is not the biggest guy. And when you're that size and you can leverage the baseball, that really stands out to me because Rocco's only going to get stronger. He's already leveraging the baseball. He's living on the barrel. And I really liked the couple swings I saw as well. So, man, he's one of the top 2027 catchers in the state. When we're digging for future games, he's a name that we have been looking at and we'll continue to look at.
So a name that we saw in the high school season at the 1A, 2A state finals in Champaign. We were really wanting to get to see him this summer. Michael Morse, uncommitted 2027 from Newman Central Catholic. Again, he came to the Peoria Summer ID. Really a similar look as what we saw. Low 80s fastball, up to 85. Curveball, changeup guy. I think the off speed is a little bit light at the moment. He's a young guy, though. I love the way that he moves. It's loose. It's easy. In the high school season for Newman Central Catholic, he threw 32 innings, struck out 38, 5-1 record, and had a 2.63 ERA. So just wanted to give him a shout out. A guy that I'm going to continue to follow, kind of like what you were talking about, Drew, just 27 arms to follow. He's a guy to keep an eye on. Really made a mark at the state tournament and then again here at this Peoria event.
Well, and just shout out Newman Central Catholic one time. They've made state 3 years in a row, I believe. Yep. Brennan Tunnick kind of leading the way there. And, you mentioned Morse, and I just want to throw out Jamison Hanlon, a 2028 there that showed well this winter as well. So, more guys coming through Newman Central Catholic. Really, really cool to see the success they've had over there.
It's really impressive what they do. The fact that they continually have some talented players come through, and obviously, like you said, Tunnick, but they're still I feel like their team this year as well just had a lot of really good players on it, and it's, for a smaller school like that, it's really impressive.
Pete, you got a guy? Because I got a 27 arm I'm going to mention, but you get in there first.
Yeah, I'm going to get in here quick with Cameron Cox. He kind of showed well all the above, right? Started on varsity for Montini as a freshman, so got him in the spring. Saw him at the top tier scout day, so showed well in event. And then saw him at the Rock. So all three, the trifecta, tournament, event, and in the spring. Looks like a guy at shortstop, and that's kind of a reoccurring theme with him. I feel like, as everyone loves the actions at short, and he has the arm and the release for short, which, I mean, at that young age, you might not typically see that. A lot of them is kind of like crow hop it across, or they get their entire energy into it. But it's quick, it's clean, exactly how it should look. And then at the plate, I mean, just takes really good at bats. For me, there's some twitch in there. It's athletic, kind of that line drive, gap to gap approach. He's just going to be a middle guy that we definitely want to keep a close eye on moving forward.
Well, real quick, how about Hammond just rolling out 3 guys that were all JFGers for us last summer? I think that's pretty cool. Also kind of like speaks to that event. We'll obviously preview that. That's coming up here in a couple weeks, but there's always a few guys, it seems like, since I've been doing this, that very next spring they're emerging as guys, for their high school programs as freshmen, which is really cool. So just want to shout that out. Those are 3 really good names you've popped off here, Hammett.
Well, and it makes me think back, like even more years, and the 2025 class that is just graduating now, and all those guys that were junior future game guys. I want to pull up just to see, but like Jaden Fauski was a junior future gamer. Connor Essenberg, junior future gamer. Jackson Natanik, junior future gamer. Hold on a second. Let me see. Enzo Infelice, junior future gamer. Ethan Moore was a junior future gamer. Definitely his 13U year. I'm not sure about his 14U year. Jack Wheeler was a junior future gamer. Gosh, there's some others on here. I am sure of it. But like all those guys are living in the top 20 in that 2025 class right now in Illinois. And maybe this is just like top of mind right now because we're, solidifying that team for this year. But yeah, I like those 3 call-outs there, Hammond.
Sounds like a decent little team you guys had back then.
If they just had a coach, then they would have done all right. Because I think you might have been coaching that team, but no,
Me?
No, I don't know.
Or
I'm
Hammond?
just kidding. I don't think you were around for that summer.
I was not. That was before my time a little bit.
Yeah. But no.
Well, I mean, we could dig into that
We love the
even
junior
more.
future games. It gives us a great opportunity to like really learn these players at a young age, get to know the personalities, and then when you get to watch them from that age, and now to get to see what they're doing as seniors, and the draft coming up, and a lot of these guys like could hear their names called. Just really, really cool stuff to kind of know them when they're 13, 14, and then to see, not only right now, but to see when they're 23, 24 years down the road. But, all right. Well, getting back on track. The 27 arm I wanted to call out because I feel like, down in Southern Illinois, down in that Effingham area, he's got to be one of the top arms. And just kind of that next name coming through. But Charlie Spour, and somebody correct me if I'm saying it wrong, but it's Spour, and he's at St. Anthony's, a 2027 right-handed arm. I saw that he was up to like 90, 91 earlier on in the summer doing something. We just saw him in Rantoul at the PBT Illinois Open, but he's a long levered, like 6'3", 183 pounds, upper 80s with the fastball, and it just oozes like this looks like a future gamer to me. So that's just one guy that I didn't see personally at that event, but everybody was raving about, and he's definitely put his name on the high follow list.
I didn't get to see him. Unfortunately, that was a coach ejection I had to go deal with when he was throwing. But Kobe Miller told me about him. He was still upper 80s in the 4th inning, so holding velo, and it really, really looked good. The video looked awesome.
I was talking with one of my buddies who went to Eastern Illinois these past couple of years about this exact thing. And it's crazy how that, like, I guess, triangle of, like, Mattoon, Charleston, Effingham, how many guys they've, like, produced. And you look at, like, a Ben Hess, a Hayden Birdsong, and then all the guys through Effingham, like Brock Fearday and this guy you're talking about here. And I know there's so many more that I'm missing. And even if you want to go up to, like, Champaign and talk about, like, Ike Young, just south of Champaign, like, there's just that little pocket of the state. It's crazy what it's done and what it's produced.
No, Meade Johnson was one of the top arms at SIU this spring. Like, he's a Mattoon guy. I mean, Jason Anderson out of Danville, I'll throw his name out there, but one of the best arms to come out of East Central Illinois. And you're right with Champaign. Um, Alec Barger back in the day, like they've had all kinds of guys, but Effingham has had the Lee brothers with Zach Lee. I mean, put me on the spot here, but like Toledo
Yeah.
Cumberland, you had, he was just throwing for Louisville. He was a future gamer, Brennan Cutts, playing in the College World Series, but Toledo Cumberland, there's so many guys, like you said. And really, you could kind of pick pockets of the state, whether it's Quincy, Illinois, whether it's the Quad Cities, whether it's the Springfield area, and you start talking about Glenwood, or you start talking about the Metro East area, like, there's just so many good pockets where guys come out of. You can talk about the Rockford area. There's been guys coming out of there, the Drew Dickinsons of the world, Freeport and all that stuff. But no, that's a really good call out. St. Anthony, like Effingham, I would say every single year has a high end Division One type guy. Josh McDevitt, coming out of Effingham a couple of years ago, was yet another one. So Gab, yeah, I'm kind of ticked at myself that I can't pull more names out of the air right now, because I'm leaving some good ones out. But that's definitely an area we're always keyed on. And then like Teutopolis, how many good guys have come out of Teutopolis? The Derek Thompsons of the world back in the day before I started and stuff like that. But anybody else got some names here? Because I got a couple more I'll get in on. But
I'll go to the Lincoln Way East. Well, one last time, okay? But this tweet, we kind of passed around as a group, and we were like, whoa. Right-handed pitcher Owen Lenz, down in Rantoul, 2026, uncommitted arm. The video was just super impressive to me. Seeing how the fastball was coming out, it was 85 to 88, touching an 89 for us. Was also spinning in a sharp curveball as well, and it's like, we've kind of touched on it. Lincoln Way East loses Jack Bauer. They also lose a guy like Jack Tamer, two guys who threw a ton of innings for him this year. So just looking ahead to next spring, they're going to need more and more guys to step up. We already touched on Cooper Johnson, who threw a bunch this year as a sophomore, so they'll get him back. But, man, watching Owen Lenz's video, it's like, wow. Like, Lincoln Way East going to get this guy going into next year. Makes him scary again going into 2026. But that was a video to me. I just thought how his arm worked, how he moved down the mound, I thought it was super impressive.
So just a couple arms that I wanted to kind of put together here from that Peoria event to finish off the guys from Peoria that I liked. But Caden Riley from Galesburg and Mason Sauter from Metamora, I just thought they were two interesting uncommitted 2026 arms. They're different profiles for sure. Riley is like a really big left-handed pitcher, low 80s fastball, super easy. There's no effort in the delivery. And then Sauter's like a smaller, compact frame, right-handed pitcher, and he was up to 85, but it's a really quick arm, a little more intentful than Riley, but just two uncommitted 2026 arms that I thought were interesting from that Peoria event that I wanted to shout out. So that's what I got from Peoria, and I'll kind of move on to some tournament stuff, but you guys go ahead first.
Tyler, if you're keeping score, I'm 4 for 4 now on Junior Future Gamers with Peter Pignatello out of Bennett, 2028.
Like it.
It's notice. And you want to see that, right? Drew, me and you. I'm kind of going all over the place here, but like that year from JFG to like that summer kind of following, there's a lot of physical development that happens, right? And I mean, one obvious one that stands out to us is that Jaden Fauski, like when we saw him, like how much bigger he was. And now Pignatello hasn't gotten quite that big, but he like really, really looks the part now. He's definitely added some strength to his frame, and it's still really athletic. Really like the left-handed swing. There's some twitch in there. And he just looked the part run the bases, right? I mean, it's just something simple like that, like an athletic gait, long strides. Like, he just looks like he has really been put in the work, and it's starting to really pay off.
Well, I love that call out because he's a true like two-way guy too for me. Left-handed hitting middle infielder that's also really interesting on the mound with feel. So, we mentioned Owen Lenz, a 2026 uncommitted arm. Like, for me, another uncommitted 2026 arm that stood out just on video, like Matthew Rogers, a guy I really didn't know much on, but Plainfield South was another guy from the PBT Illinois Open at Rantoul, but we had him 87, 89 and was getting all kinds of swing and miss and bad swings according to what we put on it. And then he's ripping a slider at 76, 78. So just another, uncommitted arm to know that was at that PBT Illinois Open.
So I'm gonna head down south now. Just some stuff that came out of Lake Point in the prior couple weeks. First guy I want to touch on is right-handed pitcher Brody Leibel, 2027 out of Glenbard North. This is a guy, admittedly, I've been pretty high on for a few years. Saw him 2 summers ago pitching in a rock tournament. Just loved how he moved back then and how the arm worked. And now he's 84 to 87. He's obviously matured into his body a little bit. But this is a guy who seemingly threw well against what was called a stacked lineup down there in Georgia. So kudos to him. It was a guy, admittedly, we were trying to track down this spring, but was a little banged up and didn't pitch for better part of the second half of their season. So glad to see he's healthy and he's pitching well down in Lake Point. So guy I'm admittedly really high on.
So go ahead, Drew.
I was just going to say, I have another 27 arm that threw down at Lake Point that I wanted to mention. He's also a shortstop, and they tweeted him out with the bat as well. So Graydon Leonard at Gibson City.
Yes.
Yeah, infielder, right-handed pitcher, and I think there's a lot to come. I've gotten some really, good texts on him as well, like people that believe in him. But he was 84, 87. Slider was 73, 75 with 2,600 plus spin on it, or RPM on it. And I like the video. Like, it's 6'2", 175 pounds, and it came out with minimal effort, it looked like. And we mentioned those Effingham arms earlier. Like, I think it might have something to do with the way he taps his glove. The rhythm coming down the mound, kind of getting the ball out of his glove. It was reminiscent of Zach Lee to me. The ease down the mound and then the glove tap. The slot is a little higher than Zach Lee was, but I like it. I think it's really interesting. I love the small town guys because I just think they have even a higher ceiling and more, room to grow, just depending on how many sports they're playing, what kind of training they're doing, all that kinds of stuff. But Graydon Leonard, 2027, Gibson City.
I had him on my list too, Drew.
Boom.
Had a few down, but actually I just wanted to mention, I feel like we were this close to getting to see him versus Traxton Roberts at the end of the high school season over in Armstrong, I believe is where the game was going to be at. But they ended up, because of scheduling conflicts and how the year ended up shaping up, it wasn't a conference game. It was just going to be a end of the year game. I think they had to cancel it if I remember right. But really bummed I didn't get to see that because that would have been an awesome 2027 matchup.
And you're cross-checking 2 of the better 2027 arms that we know of in that area too,
Yeah.
Traxton Route, just north of Champaign there in the Potomac Armstrong area. And Gibson City's just north of there too. So,
but
kind of like we said, you're going to find good arms and good players everywhere in the state.
Yeah.
Like they are everywhere. And you love to see Graydon Leonard going down to Lake Point making a name for himself.
And I'm with my guy here. I'm going with a 2025 Illinois future gamer, Colin Schweigen. A name, though, that we've always talked about, I feel like, as an arm. Yes, we've been interested with the bat, but I think specifically here, I'm kind of mentioning the bat because of what we've seen. I believe it was down at Lake Point in that wood bat tournament they were doing down there, last weekend or 2 weekends ago. It looked like he's just on the barrel. And then I think actually in Kansas City, they were posting some videos of him. They're like stadium videos, pretty cool, of him hitting like home runs and stuff. So it looks like this summer he's really been doing it with the bat. Obviously, he's a really talented arm as well, but I think the bat is what is really impressive this summer to me.
Couldn't agree more, Gavin. He's a long-levered prospect that's a stud quarterback that, because of the arm talent, it's easy to dream on the mound. Like, we've seen it up to 90, but man, like, the bat just continues to develop. And with his levers, like, what I like is a lot of the tweets we've been seeing, they're not those pull side, facing 75 miles an hour, just, swinging out of your shoes, top spinning a ball to the pull side down the line. Like, he's hammering balls to the gaps. And then you watch him run, like Peter mentioned it with Peter Pignatello, like the gait. Like, Colin Schweigen is just an athlete. It's long strided. He looks the part. It's an easy runner. and he's got a chance to be a kind of like an impact two-way. I mean, we've got a bunch of potential two-way type guys down at the future games this year. It's really interesting how that's worked out in this 27 class, but he'll be one of them as well.
I can hop in with a kind of a cool, just like stat line. I was trying to think, like I haven't seen one besides like Josh Fleming last summer, who hit 4 home runs in one day. So Andrew Wagner from Effingham, he's a 2026, played for Yard Goat 17U, hit for the cycle in the championship game, and the game before that hit a grand slam. So I just thought it was kind of cool. I don't think I've seen a cycle in my time doing the tournaments yet. So shoot, I don't know if I've seen one ever scouting actually.
Yeah, it's a big day.
Yeah, pretty cool. And yeah, they didn't win the championship, but it's okay.
Yeah,
hit for the cycle.
I'm sure that grand slam helped him get into the championship.
Correct.
Yeah,
it did. Yes, it did. Very much so.
Andrew Dawson, what was it?
Andrew Wagner from Effingham.
Andrew Wagner.
So staying on that Effingham train we were on earlier.
I'll round out my Lake Point stuff here. I got 2 shortstops that I saw in the spring. Both showed really well in the spring for me. To see what they're both doing in the summer, I think is really cool. First one being JJ Obaldo, shortstop out of Fenwick, 2027. Man, him on the infield is, and I've talked about this before just from what I saw in the spring, but it's really about as good as it gets defensively for my money. Up the middle at short, but looked like he raked down at Lake Point, so that's good to see. And then Carson Trivellini, Crystal Lake South 2027, who will be on our future games team here in a couple weeks, but another right-handed hitter that raked down at Lake Point. I want to say that was 2 weeks ago. So really like both those guys. Again, to see their continued success carry over into the summer, I think is awesome to see. So,
can I get in on a shortstop?
Do it. Let's hear it.
No.
Cam Jenkins, Oswego, committed to Missouri, 2026.
He was on my list.
I mean, down at Creekside in Kansas City, they tweeted him out a bunch. It seemed like every at bat he had an extra base hit. Was dealing with some nagging injuries this spring. I don't know if we saw him at his best when we saw him. Wasn't even playing the field, all the time. But clearly the bat hasn't really gone anywhere. And he was just leveraging, extra base hits to all fields. So, kudos to Cam Jenkins, all kinds of ceiling and, as far as a prospect is concerned with him, and love to see it.
All right, I got a couple left-handed hitting 2028s that I want to bring up here. So, first one, Ryan Pipkins, Champaign Central. I think he continues to look like a guy that just the swings on Twitter that I'm seeing. Long levered frame, really continuing to fill out. Like it looks like he's getting just bigger and stronger. But the left-handed swing is easy. And then Ryder Renette, a Dunlap 2028, fluid left-handed swing, easy athlete, plays up the middle. So there's 2 names to know in that 28 class.
I love the Renette call. Everybody that has seen Ryder Renette loves him, in our staff. Whether it was at one of the scout days we were at for him or just, Dane Poe seeing him in the spring, you seeing him, seems like he's going to be one of the better 2028s coming out of Central Illinois from a position player standpoint. Yeah.
And a cool story, I guess, kind of to add for him is his dad was a big-time hockey player and played for the Peoria Rivermen, and it sounds like that's kind of what brought them to the area. And for those that don't know who the Peoria Rivermen are, they used to be like a minor league hockey team that was with the St. Louis Blues. It was like their AHL team a couple of years ago, but now they're kind of like an independent league, I believe. But yeah, his dad's a big-time hockey player, so pretty cool.
Nice. Wonder if he had a left-handed shot. Ryder swings left-handed. But what do you got, Pete? You got a guy?
Yeah, I'm just going to go with 4 guys here. It seems like we're kind of winding down. Cody Bush, Todd Delaney Jr., Cody Bush going to JCA, Todd's going to Naz, and then Leo Kelly going to Loyola, and Paulie Hobbs going to Marist. So all 2029s.
Bunch of 29s?
Yes. Cody Bush, he's a shortstop. Really looks the part at the plate and on the field, and he can also pitch, like really pitch with pitchability in the upper 70s. Delaney, big twitch, super high ceiling. the waist goes like all the way up. He's got a ton of room to fill out, and there's definitely a ton of athleticism there to dream on. Leo Kelly and Paulie Hobbs, just kind of like physical freaks, really. I mean, they both are like in the mid 80s with the fastball, and they both have a ton of juice in the bat. And we saw Leo, and these are all tournament guys, by the way, except we had Leo at we had him at the Rising Stars games, and he put on an absolute show. Was all over the barrel, up to 84 with the fastball, and yeah, I mean, just four of the more like impressive players that I've seen, regardless of age and class this summer. And they definitely needed to be shouted out.
Yeah, their present ability is at a very high level. And like Paulie and Leo, like if you saw them in a college lineup or getting off the bus, with a college team, you wouldn't be able to tell them apart. Yeah, like that's how physical they are, and they're athletic, and they move right. That's something we're always looking for. They're not stiff. They're not just muscle bound. So yeah, a bunch of 29s there. I mean, Illinois is in a really, really good spot when it comes to talent. You look at these young guys coming up, and there's just all kinds of high follows, and it's not going to slow down here in the state from what it looks like. Last year, a bunch of high school drafts out of Illinois. This year, I think we're going to have much of the same, and then just the classes beyond are coming fast and furious. Gavin, you got a couple names here? I've got one other one I've got.
226 arms. Tyler Henry from Tolona Unity is an uncommitted 2026. I think it might have been at Rantoul that he was at, wherever it may have been. Shorter frame. He's kind of compact, but it's a quick mover, really quick arm, up to 87. I saw him at the super sectional game, not super sectional. Sectional championship against Monticello.
Playoff game. Yeah.
Playoff game. Yeah, that's probably a better way to put it. But they were playing Monticello. He was pitching against Ike Young. Monticello ended up winning that game, but that was the first time I had seen him, and really interesting. I think his brother's going to Parkland. So uncommitted 2026 there, Tyler Henry. And then RJ Duncan, a 2026 from East Peoria, going to Illinois State. Saw his video from Rantoul. I don't know if you saw it or anything.
Yes,
but
sure did. I would love to hop in after you. Go ahead.
Yes, I thought it was awesome. I'll let you get in there, but up to 93. Slider looks sharp. It's like effortless, but there's intent at the same time. I feel like with the arm, just how quick his arm is. So go ahead, get in there. Let's hear it.
Yeah, there's a ton of good intent, like right at you, kind of like an "F you, here it is, try and hit it" type of energy. But like, I never really noticed how like deceptive he was from like I was watching from behind. He hides it like really well, and it's like kind of some crossfire. I did not really notice that until now. But yeah, up to 93, holding velo well, like holding low 90s, and the slider was in the low 80s, like 81, 82 with like 2400 spin on it. So, I mean, it was like a ton of strikes too. Really, really impressive. By far the best arm that I saw all weekend, probably all summer. And that dude just continues to get better and better. I mean, really looks the part behind the dish too, can really swing it. He can just kind of do it all. I mean, he's going to ISU to do it all. I mean, his dad has a home run record there, so kind of a cool little story. But yeah, really impressed with RJ for sure.
And that's another guy that like keeps getting better. We saw him last spring, then we saw him last summer before the future games. Kind of ticked up just a little bit, earned a spot on Team Illinois at the future games, made the most of it, like showed really dynamic stuff, I thought, at the future games, and just has every time now continued to get better. And he had a dominant spring. He was an all-stater for us. One arm that I saw 2026 out of Joliet Catholic, but left-handed arm, Rocco Zamblin. Had a really solid start, it looked like, down in Kansas City. He was 86, 88, touching 90. There's not too many uncommitted left-handed arms right now that are up to 90. So just a name to know there. Saw him throw for Joliet Catholic and battled early on in the spring when I saw him live. But that's a guy to know. It sounds like in that outing he showed 3 pitches for strikes as well. But as you guys are talking about, RJ Duncan, all these guys, like one name popped up for me that has just had a huge spring, but has really carried it over to the summer. And every time I look up, I feel like he's getting tweeted out. But Keegan Sipe, I had Kevin Mulder call me on him because he saw him at Creekside just absolutely raking. But first baseman, left-handed hitter for Triad. We saw him go yard. I think it was late in the game in the semifinals at State. Went yard in Joliet. We saw him hit a number of extra base hits throughout the spring, but that's just a physical left-handed hitter to know in the Illinois 2027 class.
Then I've got two 2026 arms. I'm moving down to Kansas City now, and I honestly, I have a good amount of names here, so I'll try and be kind of brief. But first one being uncommitted right-handed pitcher Drew Borkowski out of Huntley. Looked like he threw really well for Brett Schwartz down there at KC, and was 86, 88, 75 to 77 with the slider as well. But we've had him up to 90 before. I saw him up to 90 this spring, and a guy that I feel like continues to get better. So really like Drew. Next guy is Connor Elenteni. Mount Carmel 2026 going to Notre Dame. Was a future gamer for us last summer. Another guy who just continues to get better and better. And really with Connor, he's kind of long been a projection guy. Like he likely isn't going to be he's a now guy. I think with Connor, it's going to be really interesting to see how he looks when he's like 20 or 21 years old, but continues to throw the ball well. I saw him throw the ball really well tail end of the spring, but looked like he threw the ball well in Kansas City as well. So like seeing that out of those two guys.
So I got a pair of 28s here. Sage Lelm from Morton and Bradley Jones from Muhammad Seymour. So Sage Lelm, strong right-handed hitter, showed some power. I think in the swing that I saw on Twitter, it was a homer. It's like a quick and compact swing. Shows some like intent to the pull side kind of. And then Bradley Jones, another right-handed hitter, liked to swing. Pretty simple and kind of quiet, with some power in it as well. And then a couple guys from Normal that I wanted to mention. Owen Knox, a Normal community, 2027. Saw a swing from him down at Lake Point. Right-handed hitter, pretty compact, short swing. Thought the frame was pretty interesting. And then shortstop Parker Roop, who goes to Normal U High. He's a 2027, high-waisted, long-levered kid, has a fluid left-handed swing. And he's a name that I saw this spring and I really liked as well. But just wanted to kind of shout those guys out as well. Just saw some video on them and thought it was interesting.
Cash Van Houten, Canton, 2027. Looked like he was one of the top players down at Lake Point. I saw he threw a no-hitter, on the mound, low 90s, which we've seen in the past, and then did it as a position player as well. Like he'll be on Team Illinois at the future games. I mentioned it earlier, like yet another two-way guy that just this year it's going to be very interesting with Team Illinois and the amount of two-way guys. But like Cash to me is a true two-way guy that I don't know where he's going to end up. And with the roster limits now, like the Division I level, I think it's only going to benefit some of these guys that are actual two-way guys, because it's almost like these programs then are getting an extra roster spot. You get a guy that can play shortstop, center field, and then also pitch, and you'll just figure it out at that point. Like I know Jackson Natanic and Braden Zillis both going to Illinois State next year. Both two-way guys that it's like, hey, they'll probably just figure it out when they get there. And see who sticks with the bat, see who sticks with the arm. Maybe somebody will stick both, because it is an extremely hard thing to do at the next level is be a two-way guy. But man, Cash Van Houten really made a name for himself, I felt like, at Lake Point. Another guy, Chase Nelson, second baseman from Phorm to 2026. I saw a swing from him from Creekside that I thought looked really, really good. Athletic mover as well, and has some juice in the stick. So Chase Nelson, just an athletic middle infielder to watch from Phorm.
Then I've got three catchers that look like they tore it out down in Kansas City. The first one being Brandon Thompson, uncommitted 2026 out of St. Viator, another guy who was a future gamer for us last year. Long been one of the best pure defensive catchers in the state. But got a ton of juice in that right-handed bat as well. Looked like he swung it well all weekend. Next one is Ryan Wilberding, catcher out of Libertyville, 2027. Another guy who will be on our future games roster this summer. Guy who had to play outfield this spring for Libertyville, right? Like obviously they had a nice little catcher by the name of Quinn Chambeau catch for him all spring. So, Wilberding's likely the heir apparent there to take over the catching responsibilities next year and for the foreseeable future. But guy, it seemed like, every day it's getting tweeted out he's hitting a bomb. So want to shout him out. And then last guy here is Bo Bremen out of Freiburg, 2027. Guy who looks like at every tournament he goes to this summer, he's absolutely raking. Ham and I know we saw him and we liked our look at him at the Kickoff Classic. We were kind of freezing our butts off that first night down there, and he was showing well behind the dish as well. So just 3 backstops I wanted to shout out. Look like they just absolutely tore it up down in Kansas City.
So my last guy on the list, and I'm actually surprised that he hasn't gotten mentioned yet, but Caden Wozniewski, future gamer. This summer will be a future gamer. Number 2 in our 2027 class. Saw him on the mound in a video that I saw on the mound of him, and he was 88-92. Sharp breaking ball, lots of arm speed, athlete, just looked awesome. And I'm excited to see him here in a couple weeks down in Georgia. But yeah, Caden Wozniewski, he will be a must-know guy this summer going into the future games and going into August 1st as well. So
all right, I'll empty the clip here. Last 2 guys for Kansas City I want to mention. Both are outfielders. First one being Cameron Alicon, uncommitted 2026 out of Naz. Guy that I thought showed really well for me this spring. Loved the look I got of him on both sides of the ball. It's kind of that twitchy, athletic right-handed hitter. Ton of speed out of the box. Busts his tail down the line. Love the arm. He was playing right field for me in the spring. So to see him continue to play well this summer I think is really encouraging. Last guy is outfielder James McGrath out of St. Francis, 2027. Swung it well in Kansas City. Guy who I thought looked like one of the better players at the area code tryout a few weeks ago for the underclass. And another guy who showed well for both myself and Drew this spring for St. Francis. Seemed like he had a really big sophomore year. So 2 outfielders there I want to mention.
So I wish I mentioned this at the beginning of the episode. It would have made more sense, but I just thought of it as we were talking through. Mason Burns, a normal community 2020 grad, Illinois State guy, Western Kentucky guy, just got pulled up to the Peoria Chiefs yesterday for in the Cardinals organization. So thought that was pretty cool. Just a local kid playing for the Chiefs.
Yeah, I got another nugget for you on him.
Oh, let's hear it.
He was a future gamer.
Oh, was he?
Burns was a future gamer. Yep. 3-pitch guy. He was like mid-80s at the future games with all kinds of upside. And love to see that. So he'll be in Peoria?
Yeah, I think he made it there last night. He didn't play or pitch for them, but maybe in the next couple of days he'll get his first few innings or something.
Nice.
So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll end on that. That'll wrap up episode 34 here. Appreciate you guys listening as always. Like, comment, subscribe on YouTube. Follow us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And we will see you next week with episode 35.